In the previous lesson, we talked about some of the Python data types like integers, floats, and strings, and also how to find the category of a particular data type in Python. So in this lecture, we're going to get our hands dirty with more concepts when using strings in Python. But before then, let me actually give you the solution to the problem I gave in my previous lesson. So to recap, we usually call text strings in Python, and you can think of a string as a collection of letters. In Python, we usually create a string by putting quotes around the text. However, if you start your string with one type of quote, let's say a single quote, and then try to finish with another type like a double quote. So when I print my message and run the program, then you will get an error message, which is a syntax error, unterminated string literal. And this is because you did not follow the rules of ending a string with a single quote. So to avoid this error, we have to end our string with a single quote instead of double quotes. However, if you look at our text, we have words like aren't, can't, shouldn't, and wouldn't. And for each of these words, we need to add single quotes before the letter T. But when I add a single quote here, also in can't, shouldn't, and also wouldn't, then we get to see that Python doesn't expect or recognize all of this bunch of other characters after this single quotation mark. So when Python sees a quotation mark, either a single or a double quote, then it looks for the next matching quote and also expects you to end with that same quotation mark on that line. So in this case, the starting of our string is the single quotation mark and also ends here. And also, another string starts here with a single quotation and ends here also. And lastly, the string here. So remember that Python itself is not as smart as a human being to recognize all of these characters in between. And when we try to run this program, then we get a syntax error. So to resolve this problem, I'm simply gonna add a backslash before each quotation mark within the string. In Python, this is called escaping, and it's a way of saying to Python, yes, I know I have quotes inside my string, but I want you to ignore them until you see the end of my quote. So when I run my program, then we get to see that our message has been printed out on the console without any error message. But one thing to keep in mind is that escaping strings in Python can make them harder to read. Still yet, you might come across snippets of code that use escaping. So it's good to know why the backslashes are there. But let me introduce you to a very handy feature in Python for handling strings. This is called multi-line strings. So let me show you how it actually works. I'm simply gonna pass in 3 single quotations here instead of one single or double quote. And also, at the end of my string, I'm also gonna add 3 single quotations again. And finally, I'm gonna remove these backslashes in my string. So however, when I run my program, we also get to see that our message has been printed out on the console without any error message. And this is because the 3 single quotes allows us to combine double and single quotes in our string. In fact, if we use 3 single quotes, we can put any combination of single and double quotes in our string, which is pretty awesome, right? So now let me introduce you to quite a few other methods in string manipulation. For example, if I say print, then open my parentheses and then pass in this piece of string. Then use the plus sign operator to append it to the string of letter n. And when I run the code, then you will see that Python added these two pieces of strings together for us and printed them out on the console. And I can still use another plus operator to add another piece of string. So let's say programming. And when I run the code, then we get to see that Python programming has been printed out for us. So in Python, you can actually add two or more pieces of strings together and print them out on the console. And however, not just adding strings together, we can also multiply strings in Python programming. So to illustrate, I'm simply going to pass in the string Python to my print function and then multiply by 3. And when we execute this program, then we will see that Python has been printed out 3 times for us. So in summary, we can multiply strings by integers and display them out on the console in Python programming. So now, let's talk about a key concept that you need to understand when working with strings in Python, which is embedding values in strings. For example, if I create a variable called my age and set its value to 20, and also create another variable called my message and set its value to the string I am %s years old. However, let's say you want to display a message using the content of this my age variable, which is gonna be I am 20 years old. Then you can embed the value in the string using the %s, which is like a placeholder for a value that you want to add later in your string. So in this case, this placeholder is for the value my age variable. Then finally, we will call the print function and then pass in my message. Then we use the % symbol to tell Python to replace the %s with the value stored in my age variable, which is 20. So when I run the code, then our message will be printed out on the console, which is pretty awesome, right? Another interesting thing to note is that you can actually use more than one placeholder in your string. So to illustrate, I'm simply gonna create another variable called my name and set its value to the string my name is Shuaib. So in my message, I can create a placeholder here at the beginning of the string. And here on our print statement, one of the things to keep in mind is that we are using two placeholders in my message string, which means two variables, my name and my age. So I'm gonna pass in my name and comma. And finally, we're gonna wrap our two variables in parentheses. However, another thing to note here is the order. My name has to come first for this placeholder, then my age for the second placeholder here. And when I run this program, then we get to see that my name is Shuaib. I am 20 years old printed out on the console for us. So to wrap things up, we've come to the end of this tutorial. And in the next lecture, we're going to be exploring more methods regarding Python strings. So have a nice day and I'll see you in the next lecture. Take care.